Welcome to the Disney Wedding Podcast. This show is brought to you by Carrie Hayward's Fairy Tale Weddings Guide, the only guidebook and bridal organizer tailored exclusively to Disney's fairy tale weddings at Walt Disney World. I'm Carrie Hayward, and each week I feature Disney wedding updates, money-saving tips, and interviews with wedding vendors and real Disney couples. I also cover honeymoons, anniversaries, and engagements at the Disney parks and resorts. Join me now as the Disney Wedding Podcast celebrates romance at Disney destinations. Today on the Disney Wedding Podcast, I am speaking with Disney bride Emma Reyes about her ceremony at the Wedding Pavilion, with a reception in Salon VI at the Grand Floridian Ballrooms, and a dessert party at the Grand Floridian Marina. I thought you guys would be interested to hear how she chose these locations and how she planned everything and how it all turned out. So welcome, Emma.
Hi, thanks for having me here.
Thanks so much for being on the show today. I always like to start at the very beginning and find out how you and your fiance decided that you wanted to have your wedding at Disney.
I always loved going to Disney growing up. I grew up in Chicago and we would come down once a year for our family vacation, and it was always just like a special place to me. So when I came down to Florida for college, which is where I met my husband, it kind of became a place that we went together and made a lot of special memories. And it's just a place that, we have fun. So we thought it would be a great place to have our wedding.
That's fantastic. How did your friends and family react when they found out where it would be?
I think they were most surprised about the fact that Disney even offers weddings, but I think once they realized that was an option, they were not surprised because, we're very open about loving to go there and going there all the time.
That's great. How many guests did you invite and how many were able to make the trip?
We invited 152 guests and 79 came.
Did you set up a room block for your guests?
Yeah, we did. We picked All-Star Resort, Caribbean Beach, and Grand Floridian.
Nice. Now, how did you choose the day of the week and time of day for your event?
Luckily, my mom is a cast member, and on certain days and times, they offer discounts for cast members for Disney weddings. And so we selected one of the days that fell into those options, but also it was still like a weekend, so it was convenient because we had a lot of people coming from out of town.
That's great. And how did you choose the time of day?
So we picked a 2:30 ceremony because then I felt like it was kind of a good time in the middle of the day that we wouldn't be staying out too late since we had guests of all ages. And also then we didn't have to get up super, super early like sometimes these brides do, because I don't think that I would have been able to handle that. But yeah, it was a good time.
Wonderful. Now, how did you choose your ceremony and reception venues?
We decided to go with the Wedding Pavilion because the first time that we walked in there, I was just blown away seeing the castle there. Prior to that, I was pretty set on having a park ceremony because I thought that was going to be really unique. And I still think it is really cool, but I just think with the amount of guests that we had, and as I mentioned, like the various ages and stuff, I didn't think that having a super early or super late event was going to be practical for our group. And I just thought this had, the magic of having the castle right there without being inside a park. And plus, it's just absolutely beautiful in there. And yeah, I was really blown away when I saw it for the first time. We chose the reception at the Grand Floridian Ballroom, partially for budgetary reasons, but also just convenience of location. Guests wouldn't have to really be moving all around and it could be smooth. And that's kind of the same reason that we did the marina as well, because that was just a short walk over to do the fireworks and everybody could just be at the same place the whole night.
Got it. Okay. Did you guys use any outside vendors for the portions of your event that you were able to?
So from photography, we did David and Vicky Arndt. We found them through like the Disney Brides Facebook page. Then I had a day of coordinator, Catherine Martell, which similar that I found her through the Facebook page. Laura Reynolds, artistry, did my makeup. I actually found her through, I have my college roommate got married at Disney World and she used her and recommended her, but I also saw that she was recommended a lot on Facebook. So it was kind of double there. And then for floral, personal floral at least, I did Bluegrass Chic.
And then how did you choose your officiant?
So the college roommate that I just mentioned that got married at Disney actually used Renee Silverman, who I ended up using. And that was like the first thing that she told me after having her Disney wedding was, you have to use her. She was amazing. And so I also saw that she was on Disney's recommended list. So I started, looking up videos of her, but also other vendors that were on the list and that people were suggesting. And yeah, just watching through videos, I ended up liking her the best and reached out to her.
Got it. Did you add any more entertainment to the ceremony besides the organist or any entertainment to your reception?
Yes, we had the violinist at the ceremony, and then we had a DJ at the reception.
Great. Do you have any menu items or cake flavors that you would recommend from the reception or the dessert party?
Yeah, so for the groom's cake, one of the flavors that we did was chocolate and peanut butter because my husband loves Reese's and I do too, but that flavor was amazing and everybody was raving about that cake. And also the top flavor that we picked on our wedding cake was pistachio with vanilla buttercream, and that was another popular one. That was like the only flavor that was completely gone. And then for the main food, I think that us and the guests really enjoyed the pasta bar enhancement. That was one thing that we did. And yeah, it was really delicious.
What kinds of stuff did they have on the pasta bar?
So you could pick like if you wanted marinara, Alfredo, or like a Parmesan cream sauce. And then for the proteins, you could pick meatballs or shrimp. So you could have like a shrimp scampi or traditional spaghetti and meatball, or yeah, like a cream based like Alfredo one. Then they also had focaccia bread, which was really good, and Parmesan cheese and red pepper flakes like to mix in.
That sounds great. Can you tell my listeners a little bit about the dessert party you had at the Grand Floridian Marina, and then the welcome party and the rehearsal dinner you had?
Yeah, so we did a welcome party at Star Wars Launch Bay and a rehearsal dinner at Animal Kingdom, and then the fireworks at the marina. And also the day before everybody came, we did a day at Epcot because actually listening to your podcast, there was a bride that was on here a while ago named Catherine Sorts, I think. And I remember listening to hers and she had like the most iconic like weekend incorporating all four parks. And that kind of inspired me like, oh, that would be something really cool and a really cool experience. So we just had like a meetup at Epcot the day before where everybody just, whoever wanted to come, came. And for the welcome party at Star Wars Launch Bay, that was really amazing and unique experience. Like my husband loves Star Wars, so that was a top priority. And we were lucky that that location was available. So we did that, and that's where the groom's cake was. I worked with the Disney Bakery to design a Star Wars inspired cake. They couldn't do like, actual Star Wars characters on the cake due to licensing, but it was fun. And we did like constellations with some of his favorite things on it. And yeah, it was just a lot of work put into that, but it was really cool. And then we did Rise of the Resistance mix in, which was just awesome because there's a lot of people that came to the wedding that had never even been to Disney before. So kind of like being able to have them experience this, one of the best rides there, was really fun. And for the rehearsal dinner, we did Tamu Tamu with Pandora, Flight of Passage, and the Safari mix-in. And like the welcome party was for everyone. The rehearsal dinner, we ended up just doing like our bridal party and immediate family. And that was cool because for both events, we really kind of were trying to keep the things a surprise to our family and friends as well. And so, yeah, my family was really surprised about the safari, especially my grandma. She was like walking with her brother, my great uncle, and he was like, "Are we going to see other animals here?" And she's like, "Yeah, but we're not seeing any." And then we got on the safari, so they were surprised, and it was fun. And then, yeah, the fireworks party was amazing. Just having that view right out at the marina, it's just a perfect clear view, and it's really nice since they put the music in there, and it's like you're right there. So that was great.
Wonderful. Can you give my listeners a timeline of how the wedding day ran?
Yeah. At 6 a.m., the makeup arrived. We had 2 makeup artists, both from the Laurel Reynolds company, but we had 7 girls. So that was the timeline that they gave us. At 11:30, photography and videography showed up. At 1 o'clock, we did our first look and private vows. And then at 1:15, we started family photos. And then at 2:20, I was taken over to the Wedding Pavilion for our 2:30 ceremony. Prior to that, like our family was being like slowly taken over, depending when the photos were finished for them. And that lasted till about 3. And then our cocktail hour was 3:30 to 4:30. And then the reception was 4:30 to 8:30. And it was kind of like loose in there. Like we did our first dance speeches and then the dinner whenever that was done. And then we opened the dancing and did our parent dances around 6 o'clock. And then we did our final dance around 8 o'clock because I wanted to do a private like final dance as well. So that was like with the group. And so then we just had like a song by ourselves after that. And then we moved outside to the marina, and they actually got us out there a little early because we did our cake cutting around 8:20, even though the dessert party was meant to start at 8:30, and then the fireworks were at 9.
Did you do your cake cutting at the dessert party?
Yes, we did.
Oh, nice. Okay. Was that just to save on having to provide other desserts or?
Well, yes, it did contribute to the minimum, but also it kind of gave a break in between all of the food that it was everybody would have been like, hungry for cake again by then. And plus it was just kind of picturesque having the castle out there while we were doing it and everything. But yeah, it definitely took up a majority of the minimum because then the only other thing that we had to do was we did Mickey bars and popcorn, which I think were like two of the cheaper items because they were only $8 each. So
that's a great tip. So out of all of this, what ended up being your favorite memory of your wedding day?
There's a lot. I mean, obviously doing like the vows and the ceremony are things that are very special to me. But in terms of just like happy, fun memories, I don't think I'll ever forget because we did Mickey Mouse hats as like the place card holders and kind of doubled as favors at the tables. And so when they swung those doors open and we came in for introduction and I saw everybody wearing those hats, it was just so like hilarious and amazing to me because there was teenagers in there was like my uncles who'd never been to Disney, all these people that were kind of, I think, like skeptical about what a Disney wedding was going to be, and they were all in there having fun wearing these Mickey hats, dancing the whole night. And it's just, when I look back at the photos and videos, it just like makes me smile because I just love how much everybody was into it by that point.
That's fantastic. When you guys were planning, what were some of the most important aspects of the event where you focused your attention or your budget?
Definitely having like, I guess, uniquely Disney experiences. Because like I've mentioned, Disney is a place that's very near and dear to us and that we have a lot of fun. And I kind of wanted to show that to guests of like, this is why we love it. And this is the things that we love about being at the parks and stuff. So that's why, a lot of our budget went to kind of these extra events like the welcome party and stuff, like being in the park and doing the ride mix-ins. Also the food was another big thing. We definitely wanted to make sure that we had some things that we were really going to like and that our families were going to like. And also not necessarily a budget thing, but a lot of my attention went to adding personal touches. I did a lot of DIY projects for this. For the welcome party, we had lightsabers and I put our names with my Cricut on every single lightsaber that we handed out to people. And, just at our tables, we had pictures of the two of us at Disney World throughout the years from when we were little kids, like 10 and under. And we were trying to, kind of match them up. And it was just funny, seeing throughout our lives, like how it's been this kind of like common thread, so, but yeah, things like that. I it was just really important to me that like, while this was like a Disney thing, like, it's also our wedding and I wanted it to be very personal and special to us.
That's great. Were there any aspects that were less important where you saved your money or just your effort?
I think the floral and decor, we didn't really go heavy on that. We did end up reusing, as a tip that I see you put all the time, all of the decor from the ceremony at the reception, which we had like some like lining the aisles that then became the centerpieces, and then two at the altar that then went to the sweetheart table. But besides for that, and besides for the stuff that I made, which was just like a lot of mirrors. If you see photos from my stuff, we used a lot of mirrors with like the Cricut writing on it. And just because I know that's kind of like, it's like a trend right now that I was seeing a lot that I thought was just so cool and really added to like the ballroom fantasy thing. So like our drink menu was on a mirror and like all these things. But other than that, we just used the gobos. Like we didn't really have, we didn't do piping and draping or uplighting or anything. So yeah. And then also characters. We didn't do characters or specialty transportation because, like I said, just for us, we just wanted to do the ride mix-ins over those things. But I do think those things are really cool. That was just not where we ended up using our budget.
Got it. And for the mirrors and your other DIYs, how did you get all that to Florida?
Oh, I live here. So luckily that it was allowed for a lot of transportation. And it's funny because we did our seating chart on like this huge mirror that I got a few years ago that has like Disney princess stuff on it. And I was telling Catherine before because she was setting this up for us at the reception. I was like, just so you know, this is a huge mirror. And then when I saw her like later that night, she's like, yeah, even though you said that, I was not prepared for how giant this mirror was because it was like the seating chart with everybody's names on it, you know. And we painstakingly, my mother-in-law helped me, and my mom helped me with a lot of things, but in particular, this mirror, my mother-in-law put all of the names like on the mirror, and it's hard to align them straight on a mirror, but she did it and it looked good.
Okay, so then did anything go wrong or just not turn out like you expected?
Yes, I would say the main thing that happened was the air conditioning went out in the wedding pavilion. So, yeah, we had no air conditioning for the whole ceremony, but it was okay because it was, you know, the shortest part of the day, but it was definitely hot in there, especially being in the dress and everything.
Wow. Was there anything that seemed like a big deal beforehand or you were worried about and then it turned out not to be a big deal?
Definitely like the decor thing, because like I said, even though we didn't put a lot of our budget to it, it was something at the beginning that I was interested in putting the budget to, but we just kind of like shifted, especially this is so like kind of nitpicky and random, but the chairs that are provided by Disney, I just like was not into and I kept looking up like different chairs and whatever. And then just in the end I convinced myself, I'm like, okay, it's not worth like this extra cost. It'll be okay. And yeah, the day of, I didn't even notice. And because I'm local, we went to the open house a few times, and there would be things that I was kind of looking at in the ballroom, like, oh, well, you could see the lines where the wall folded, and should we have done this, and blah, blah, blah. And the night of, like, I didn't notice any of that, you know? It was like, I just noticed, like, with all the people in there, like, everybody having fun and stuff, I didn't even notice any of those little things, and I doubt anybody else thought anything either.
That's wonderful. Is there anything you would have done differently knowing what you know now?
I think I would have liked to have my vision together sooner because I think that was one thing the whole time I was being very indecisive about how I wanted things to actually like look in the end. And a lot of that had to do, you know, with deciding with the budget and stuff. But it's just like kind of overwhelming the amount of options that you could have like through Disney or otherwise. And so that led to me kind of doing a lot of these like DIY things closer to the end. And it kind of made like the last like month pretty stressful because I was trying to get all of these things done. So if I could go back in time, I would maybe start on those things a little earlier. They came together, but it was just kind of a stressful few weekends leading up to it.
Got it. Do you have any other tips or advice for future Disney couples?
Yeah, definitely. And I know this is something like that you preach all the time as well, but keeping track of your own budget and like the items that you have asked for or that you've agreed to. Because I used your book because I felt like your prices were like spot on with everything, but I used that Excel thing that you had at the end and I actually just like created my own Excel document, but I took the information from there and because it helped me plan like it. And first of all, I make sure that everything was within my budget or what I was wanting. And then when I got that budget sheet from Disney, I was literally able to go through and be like, does this match this? Because it was so spot on, even with like the taxes and fees and everything. And it was a good thing I did that because there was some times where there was some discrepancy, like for the rehearsal dinner, they had told me that I didn't meet the minimum when I did. And so I, you know, it's a lot of work sometimes, but just making sure that like you're on top of what you have too, because they're doing a lot of weddings and they might get it wrong. And just like part of that too is I think just having patience with the team. Because trust me, like there was times where I was frustrated and stuff, but I don't think that there's anything like good that can come from taking it out on the Disney team that is also overwhelmed and everything sometimes, because in the end, they're the ones that are going to be executing the vision for you. So just having, if you want to go down this route, just having like the patience and understanding with these cast members as well.
That's great advice. Well, Emma, I think you've offered a lot of great tips and advice for anyone who's interested in getting married or having a vow renewal at Walt Disney World. And I appreciate your taking the time.
Yeah, thank you so much. And thanks for all of your resources. And like, seriously, I listened to the podcast before I even got married just because it's entertaining. And then the book was like a lifesaver. So that it helped me a lot.
That's awesome. That's our show for today. I'm your host, Carrie Hayward, inviting you to join me again next week for another episode of the Disney Wedding Podcast. Past shows and tons of photos for each episode are available on my website, DisneyWeddingPodcast.com, or listen in your favorite podcast app. And for instant answers to all your Walt Disney World wedding questions, check out Carrie Hayward's Fairy Tale Weddings Guide, available as an interactive ebook with continual free updates at fairytaleweddingsguide.com.